Happening today, the U.S. Secret Service will brief a congressional task force about the second apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That bipartisan group of lawmakers was already investigating the July attempt on the former president's life. We're now learning the group's chairman wants to visit Trump's Florida golf club where Sunday's incident happened. The FBI director says the Bureau is working around the clock on its investigation. Listen to this.
For the second time in just over 2 months, we've witnessed what appears to be an attempt to attack our democracy and our democratic process. And I'm relieved that former President Trump is safe, and I want the American people to know that the men and women of the FBI are working tirelessly to get to the bottom of what happened.
Florida Republican Congresswoman Laurel is on the bipartisan task force investigating these attempts, and she's joining us now live from Capitol Hill. Representative, thank you so much for joining us. Are plans in the works for your task force to visit the site of Sunday's incident?
So it is an important step for us to get to actually visit the site of an incident like this. One of the task force first things we did was go out to Butler so that we could walk those grounds and understand the proximity of the shooter to where President Trump was standing. So I do expect that task force members will absolutely want to visit the Florida site as well so that we can get a sense of what happened there, the type of perimeter that was being maintained, and how this person was able to get into that area that made him such a significant threat.
Yeah, I hope you get to see that and see it soon. I know you guys are doing very important work. Questions are also being raised, Congresswoman, about the Secret Service's ability to protect Donald Trump, a former president, current Republican presidential nominee. The agency says it needs more resources. Listen to what Senator Richard Blumenthal said about that. Listen to this.
The Secret Service has a management issue in the use of its money and manpower. Until it does better in accountability and management, it will continue to be short on resources because it is diverting resources and mismanaging them. We should consider more resources for the Secret Service.
So what's your reaction, Congresswoman, to what we just heard from the senator?
Well, I think it's clear that we need more Secret Service agents assigned to protective details right now. The threat environment is intense. They need to be able to adequately protect President Trump along with their other protectees. However, the senator makes a good point in this way. The larger Department of Homeland Security has a very large budget and need to be able to demonstrate to members of Congress that they're using it appropriately and that the resources that they are getting, those taxpayer dollars that are going to the broader Department of Homeland Security, are being spent correctly. So, Wolf, I believe both of those things are true. We need more Secret Service agents who are the best and the brightest who are working protective detail. But before we just send more money, we need to be sure that the resources that are sitting over there at the Department of Homeland Security are being used appropriately.
Good point. Sources tell CNN, Congresswoman, that back in August, the White House actually submitted a request to Congress for a funding boost for the Secret Service. What's the status, if you know it, of that request?
I do not know the status of that request, but I can tell you that one of the things that our task force is working on is understanding what those needs are, both the supplies, the agents, what is it that it takes for the Secret Service to continue to operate effectively in this threat environment, which really appears to be unprecedented. And that we have a former presidential candidate, and then also the other, we still have Vice President Harris and Joe Biden, who also need to be protected adequately. So that's certainly one of the very important questions for us all to be considering.
Based on all my reporting over the years of the Secret Service, I know the highest level of protection is for a sitting president, but there are reduced levels of protection for former presidents, even for Republican and Democratic presidential nominees. Should those levels be escalated to include the highest level of protection for a former president of the United States and for presidential nominees?
So that level absolutely needs to be elevated to a full presidential protective detail for President Trump. Because there are two things that are significant there. One is, as you describe, what is this person's role currently? But the second is the actual threat environment. And the evidence is clear that the actual threat environment here is grave. And President Trump needs that full active presidential detail. Every resource that they have needs to be deployed at this point to ensure that he's kept safe.
Yeah, I think that's an important point as well. Congresswoman Laurel of Florida, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be right back with more news.